Ready, Mark?
Yes, off we go.
Right, Mark, this is our presentation. It's surrounded around stainless steel welding. I'll run you through the group. So, I don't know if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Joe Ogle, Senior Welding Team Leader for Weld Shop.
Stacey Doherty, Document Controller at Weld Shop.
Matt Thomas, Production Engineer, both sites.
Kevin Riley, Team Leader Mechanical.
And me,
Shop.
Jay Lodge, Building Services Student Engineer.
It's worth pointing out that Jake's only joined, this is the first time Jake's joined.
I'm new to this group today,
New to the
so
group,
this is
so-
the first time I've seen this presentation.
Okay.
Right, so the area of investigation for this presentation, we're going to be investigating possible improvements within the stainless steel welding process, with the aim to try and find out where they're going wrong and find out where we can improve the process and then put these into place to then benefit us in the long run. I was going through the methodology of the presentation. So the team's been putting, over the last few weeks, the team's been putting together a number of exercises to try and identify these problems in order to derive some solutions from them. The first thing we went through was the flow process of the stainless steel welding process at the minute, which is posted up on the wall here, and then identifying all the problems that come along with what we're facing at the minute, and then in order from that we can go through finding solutions, brainstorming problems, and then recording data to see how many times these problems occur, following by a Pareto analysis of the telechart data, a fishbone diagram which is on the wall over there, identification of root cause and identification of solutions. So I'm going to pass you on to Joe now. He's going to go through the flow process of the stainless steel welding process.
So this is a brief walkthrough of what we do currently in the stainless steel welding process. So all your pink post-it notes are actual points we do, so this is process points. The blues are problems that can occur at each one of these points. So we start off at handover. Handovers come from either off-site or site. Problems we can have with that is missing information and incorrect information. From that we move on to checking joins, so that's when we receive the handover, we start checking through joins. We can be missing information again, incorrect info, checkpot joins that hasn't been picked up at this stage before it's come to us. From that then we move on to receiving materials, so obviously in the handover process the materials will be ordered. We'll check, could come in late, we could have stuff not being ordered, over ordered, incorrect quantities and missing materials, so there's a few problems around that area. Once we've gone through that, we start checking the materials. This applies to AWE quite a lot, so we have to check that they've got the right material certs, right quantities, right sizes, everything like that. We go through PMI testing and stuff like that. This can be incorrect material again, and damaged materials as fewer as problems. From that then, as joins are sorted, we're ready to start actual production. So we move on to creating a cutting list. Problems that can arise with that is human error, unachievable dimensions that haven't been picked up earlier on, in handover process or join checks. From that then we start cutting, so it's actual cutting and prepping of the pipe ready for the welder. We can have measurements and marking wrong, so just a human error with a tape measure, measuring a metre, you're actually measuring 2 metres or whatever it may be. Tooling issues, saw might have gone down, we haven't got any blades, blades are wrong, blades are blunt, anything like that. Material utilisation, this happens, we'll start cutting, we'll start as first joint 6 metre length, as next length comes it's 3 metre length, and then as next one's a metre length, and we basically don't utilise this pipe the best we can. We then get to the last 4 or 5 joins and we realise we've got 3, 4, 5 joins of 6 metre lengths and we haven't got 6 metre length pipe, we've got bits because we've not utilised this pipe properly, so that happens. Tooling issue, sorry, incorrect material calculation, again that goes back to under ordered and over ordered, stuff like that. Prepping process, it's pretty simple on stainless steel. It's a quick grind round with an internal disc. They cannot be cleaned, sometimes they're not cleaned properly, so if some grease and cutting compound gets left on it, that obviously then goes into affecting welder. Cutting error again, wrong length, wrong size pipe, wrong diameter, stuff like that. We're then on to welder, so welder then comes in. He'll set up and tack the pipe, he could tack it up wrong. Cross-contamination, if you haven't decontaminated his bay from stainless steel to carbon steel, we have a process to follow for doing that. Crane can break down if it's a large item, we can't then get it in shop. And waiting for assistance, so the welder might be waiting for another fitter or a team leader to come and hold him an elbow on or set him a bend up, something like that. Self-purging, so we set as purge up, which is as inert gas we put into his pipe. We can run out of gas, wrong flow rates, so it doesn't remove all oxygen within the pipe. Damaged equipment, that then can lead up to coking, so it's a defect in the weld, it's basically scrap if that happens. Eventually we get to welding, which is what we're trying to do. From that we have a lot of problems we can have human error, lack of equipment and materials, PPE issues, lack of welds and labour if we're short on men, pulled out of a line, so things pull obviously when they're welded, they can distort and stuff like that. Welders not qualified to that procedure, again run out of gas, no welding procedure in place, so that could have been missed at handover stage, that we haven't got welders qualified to do this actual work. So once all that's done, it's welded, we go into weld inspection. This then is like a bit of a hold point, so it can come back around the process to welding it, because if anything goes wrong at weld inspection, it could be scrapped, it could be rework, remake, stuff like that, to get it through that hold point. Problems with weld inspection is availability of inspectors. They're sometimes busy, they can't get around in time, that has a knock-on effect on production, because the welder's stuff doing that while he's waiting. An X-ray, an MPI, DPI could go down, obviously it's a failure, it needs reworking before it can get it through. Very last stage on production side, it really is team leader checks. So team leader come along, he'll check both for measurements, right orientation, dimensions, etc, etc. Can be built incorrectly. Availability of team leader, they're sometimes busy so they can't get around. So if a welder's got a big piece in his bay, he needs to get rid of it before he can get his next piece in. If you can't find a team leader, again, he's stop time, lack of production and stuff. Eventually we then get to marking up spool with ID, so permanent marker, wrong ID can go on, it's illegible, joint can be missing from it, so we don't actually know what spool it is. And then we're on to dispatch, which is goods in, goods out department. So missing materials for dispatch, so your bungs, your end caps, stuff like that, they can be missing. Debris can be left in pipe, so when we drill little holes in it for sockets, debris can be left inside it, it's not good. And obviously, part and parcel of that materials, open ends can be left. When we come to dispatch, so we'll take this and put it on our truck. Dispatch without inspection, so it could have missed this whole point here. This usually happens when we're rushing, we're under cosh a bit to get stuff out, we can just get blindsided with it and we can miss that. Damage due to poor loading, so we have them Scotch coat rings on stainless. When we're loading, we have to be careful when we're loading, not to damage them or chip them and stuff like that. Wrong size transport, we sometimes all get wagons and it turns out stuff don't fit on it, or we get an Arctic wagon for one pallet, stuff like that. So not best cost effective, and incorrect delivery. So yeah, so that's the process basically in a nutshell. We'll introduce you to Stacey. Now she's going to run through the tally charts with you.
Right, so I think in between two sessions, so over the space of 2 weeks, we did these tally charts, and these are basically all your problems from up here. We divided them into pre-production, production and post-production, and every time any of them came up, put a tally in the box. You see most of them from pre-production, so that's where a lot of problems seem to come up. So we converted them into Pareto charts, which are supposed to show 80% of your problems are caused by 20% of your issues. So that's these ones that end up at the top end here, which I cannot read on there. So the ones with the most on them, incorrect information comes up first. Then measurements missing from drawings, materials over ordered, incorrect quantity. That's sort of the worst ones. Your measurements missing and over ordering sort of comes in with the incorrect information. We kind of realised that as we went along, a lot of the problems all sort of come under that banner. Because it's things that are coming up on drawing. If the measurements are missing from the drawings, it can make things wrong. If things aren't right on drawings, we end up doing the takeoffs wrong, ordering the materials wrong, so then things have to be ordered weeks down the line, that delays us further. Production didn't seem to have as many problems during production. The worst offenders are measuring and marking errors, which that's really human error more than anything, and tooling issues. I don't entirely know what tooling issues it was that came up.
We've got one at minute with no gas for MIG welders.
Gas for MIG welders.
It's a struggle. So it's stuff like that. Saws going down, bandsaw blades snapping.
And post-production, worst offenders, defects just generally, that's inspectors knocking things back if there's undercut on welds or whatever welding defects, they bounce them back for welders after, redo those. A lot of the time that's just sort of human error, something gone wrong with the welding. Second one, dispatch.
Without inspection.
Mine's misprinted that, amazing. Dispatch without inspection, that's when our inspector will come in, they'll check through their list and they'll find that something's just not been inspected, it's been bunged up, put on truck and it's gone to off-site or wherever without being inspected. It doesn't happen that often. It's not too bad, but we usually send the inspector off to go inspect them off-site if we can. Built incorrectly and drawing lost. Tying. Built incorrectly, that's when team leaders get to measure it at the end, find something's wrong, socket's been missed, something's wrong way around. And drawing lost, that's when I get annoyed. The reports come through and there's no drawings to go with them, and I have to reconstruct the drawings off of the reports, which obviously is not ideal. Sometimes things have been red penned onto drawings and changed at some point. So usually they've blown away out of the shutter door when they disappear.
I'm trying to keep some questions for the end. That one's really intriguing me now, this drawing lost one. What's the incident rate of that? So how many drawings have we put out, and how many, and that too represents what proportion of the drawings we put out?
Well, the data was collected over 2 weeks, wasn't it?
Yeah, there were.
And there was 2 instances of that
In the fortnight?
Yeah.
In that particular 2 weeks, yeah. And sometimes.
As for how many
it.
drawings were, Joe would be better to answer that.
I mean, I can tell you, I've got 3 reports on my desk at the moment where I've got no drawings that have ever come through, and they're from sort of this year. So. But there might well be more that go missing and get replaced before they get to me.
Obviously, the Parito's only it's a point in time, isn't it?
Yeah, that particular time, which were around the Copper Schools incident. And availability, it looks like it says availability of tea on my printout. I'm going to assume it's availability of team leader.
Yeah.
So that's just they're off measuring spools or whatever they're doing. Sometimes just waiting for them to get spools measured up for them to go out.
Mark's just asked a question.
Yeah.
He hasn't left it to end like we asked it, but anyway. He's just asked a question that where we've got drawings lost.
Yes.
We had 2 on the Parito. How's that as a proportion of the drawings that we handle in those 2 weeks?
Not very much. Very rarely. They usually get lost. What'll happen is they might blow out a pipe. So when they're stored near a doorway or something like that, they can blow out a pipe. So when they come to bung pipes up, what they do is they pull joins out and they'll make their delivery note from that. And they'll find that they've got 10 pipes, but they've only got 9 joins. So it's where's that join? Is it still in welder's bay? Or is it blown out? Yeah. They try and hunt it down. As an inspector took it for something, as a team leader took it for something. So it's just a case of finding that.
Right, I'll bring that up later on. I won't bother you again, so.
Well, that's the end about it anyway. It's, I'm going to pass you over to Kev, I believe.
Problem statement, really problem statement. What is the problem? Incorrect, missing information is the main big problem we have here. Where is the problem? Weld shop can occur elsewhere or off-site. That's all over both sides. What is the problem lead to? Wasting time, increasing rework, additional cost, late deliveries, increased workload, stress levels and morale. That's a big one. What is the impact? Cost of the company increased, reputation and waste. Lost product. What's that product?
Production time.
Production time, inefficiency and late deliveries. Is the problem new? No. Can anything be done now? Regular meetings, production meetings, production management, procurement, operatives, engineers. We go on to, is it Fishbowl next? Now I did a fishbone chart, problem, incorrect missing information. What that leads to is your people, lack of training and knowledge, big one. People in wrong position, not used to full potential, knee-jerk decisions. What that means. Them and us, I think that's the other thing. What's that? Why something from that one? Budget what? Restraints. Budget restraints, and that's equipment. The process, wrong people, prioritising and delegation. Training again, passing the problem on, lack of communication, system IFS not used correctly or potential. A lot of that is people not knowing how to use it correctly. Isn't it?
Basically, the system can do everything we want it to.
It can, but if
it's not being used to its full potential,
yeah.
I would say.
Change from the change from Caduct to Revit. We've had a few problems with that. I think we've still got a few problems, haven't we? Still, we CAD-men and that not having qualifications or knowing how to use it correctly. Environment, stress, lack of respect both ways, and stop due to. What's that? Invoicing. Stop due invoicing.
Yeah, that's when we're put on stop by suppliers, which is what
Suppliers.
Mary and myself were talking about yesterday.
We then did present versus desired situation. Present, people in wrong positions, not used to full potential. There's a desired situation, management to understand the current skills, needs and how they fit together. How to achieve it, up-to-date skills, matrix, qualifications and experience. Next one down is lack of understanding of what people require. Same as desired situation, regular meetings, communication and documentation. Lack of training, knowledge, again skills matrix, shop floor based matrix, training and qualifications as per project requirements. Lack of communication between people. Regular toolbox talks, morning meetings and tech reviews. How to achieve weekly, daily meetings. Wrong people, priorities, and delegation. Clear management, prioritising of work, delegation of tasks to the correct people, ensuring they fully understand. I think a lot of it is a lot of people don't exactly know what the role is. There's a lot of that, not to do with me, which I hate. Communications, meetings, understanding skills, understanding tasks and requirements. Lack of training people process. This again, skill matrix, widely qualified skilled workforce. Skills matrix required to clear owner, understanding of business requirements, work coming through. Then you've got lack of communication on processes. Structured regular meetings, toolbox talk, same as 36%, 9% tech reviews, which I think at the minute really have gone out of window a bit. It's regular meetings as well, so we know what's happening. Next one down, stress, firefighting, no clear direction, workload too high, bullying. Design situations, happy working environment, team effort in all and together attitude. We need to all work together, not us and them. How to achieve communication, better understanding what we do from management.
It's the costing case study. Joe,
That's Matt Thomas.
You might like this. So what we did a bit of a case study to try and quantify what it's actually costing us to have this problem that we've identified, which is lack of information. So when we have an issue, what we've done is we create a table of all the different personnel that are involved in sorting that issue, what they do, how much time it takes on average to sort that out, what cost it is, either material or hourly rate, and for the case study what it's actually cost us. We can then, from that, we worked out how many likely occurrences that will be every year, and came up with a quite staggering figure at the bottom, which is all down to lack of information. So, just running through it, obviously when anything goes wrong, the first thing that needs to happen is the engineer needs to assess what the error is, needs to arrange any alterations, update the change tracker. Takes him about an hour. The CAD man needs to redraw the drawing, sort the issue out. Only takes him 20 minutes, but it's 20 minutes that's repeated a lot of times in a year. Engineering assistant then needs to order the gear, make the drawings, set up new shop orders. The procurement and buyer needs to place an order with the supplier, which again only takes 5 minutes to do, but the repetition of it is where the cost comes in. The production team leader needs to arrange for the spools to be collected for rectifying, do material takeoffs, chase materials, goods in, allocate operatives to the job of rectifying it. In this particular case, it took an hour. For goods in obviously need to chase the equipment, we need to receive the delivery, need to quantify it and book it in, and we need to issue it to the team. Production then need to carry out the works, cutting, prepping, welding, etc., as we've seen on the process flowchart over there. Post-production, we need to measure and check the spools again, and potentially we've always got an issue, then it's wrong again, and we have to start the process again. Inspection, need to inspect the spool. Dispatch, need to prepare for dispatch. And post-production admin needs to check the drawings against the inspection reports, scan them, mark them off on the spreadsheet, etc., and file all the copies. So the actual time for all of these individual elements is relatively small, but when you actually work it out, that particular one error due to lack of information on that job cost us 500 quid.
Is this a spool? Sorry.
This were
spool.
12 spools that come with, we put PN16 flanges on them. When you check boilers, they're actually PN6. So nobody thought to check that day one, and it could have been stopped. So that information, when that gear come in, they could have said, I will check back at boilers, I will check what PM rating they are. Do you know, usually do that on certain equipment, special valves, boilers, stuff like that. That didn't happen, so what happened is we made them as to join. They went down to offside. Eventually they unpacked boilers, looked back at boilers and went, oh, wrong flanges. So basically had to go back to the start of that, to go back through to rework it. And like Matt says, in this occurrence, it cost £500 to rectify that. But if we take an assumption on it happens twice a month, we're looking at 12 grand in here.
So it's quite a...
And that's based on it being of that magnitude, that same similar scenario. It could be worse, it could be less, but it's just a bit of an average.
I think twice a month is quite conservative as well, really, isn't it?
Can be, yeah. Busy we get sometimes, mistakes happen, don't they? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we came up with an action plan, which is all fundamentally around providing information. First point of the action plan was to update the skills matrix with qualifications and experience, because I think it's fair to say the skills matrix is pretty much out of date now, isn't it? It's a one-off cost. It'll take about a month to do. All we need is somebody to do it. In terms of actually updating the skills matrix, we need to identify the core training elements. We need to audit the existing qualifications of the people we've got. We need to establish where the gaps are, implement the required training, and we need to continue it by regularly reviewing against the workload and any changing in legislation. For instance, we've had a change in welding, PPE and LEV legislations that we need to take into account and things like that. Right, daily morning briefings already occur to some extent, but what we want to do is introduce them as a more structured event. So in every daily morning briefing, we'll start with safety at the top of the agenda, as it should be. Then a job by job progress update, looking at issues affecting any production that we've got at the moment, materials, where we are on the programme, are we on track, are we behind, are we in front, and then any other business which might be about client visits, any special requirements.
I'll just add on that, I think it happens at both sides, but I think a bit of a cross between. So maybe myself coming down to offsite to that production meeting and vice versa.
Well, that makes sense, because a lot of what you're doing down there, doing here is for us down there.
Feeds offsite,
Absolutely. Right, introduce specific weekly toolbox talks. We already do weekly toolbox talks, but this is about aligning them with what production we've actually got, which we can only do if we've got the forward knowledge of what we're going to be doing. The cost is purely just labour time for doing a toolbox talk, and it might be 15 minutes. It's very little for the benefit that it will give. So what we'd do is we'd choose topics relevant to the current projects. We'd bring in any legislation changes and any process changes. This is quite a biggie. It's review of a project handover and stage meetings. We used to have a system like the rest of Baines where we have a 30% technical review, a 60% and a 90%. We've trimmed that down, and we've got now meetings that don't really fall into any category. So it's difficult to have the structure that we need. But what we do need to do is we need to cover health and safety issues. Everybody needs to understand what we're trying to achieve with the projects. We need a project overview. We need to be able to identify at an early stage what the project skill requirements are, especially for any welding procedures and things like that. We need to be able to identify tooling requirements in plenty of time. Obviously a lot of the tooling is supplied by myself, but very often I don't find out about it until the day we need it. And it's all down to this knock-on thing about not planning up front and not having the information up front. We need to identify space requirement, we need to identify transport and handling requirements. We need to be fully aware of the programme, what long lead time materials there are, make sure they're ordered and keep a specific track on them, and then obviously any other business. So I can hand over to Jake to summarise.
So I'm just going to run through the benefits of, if we was to put this action plan into place and include all the points that we've raised, there's a number of benefits that can benefit us as a company. One of the main ones of this is the quality of the product that we're supplying, along with an increased cost and possible increase in profit for us, and also delivery. We can boost morale through, there'll be less problems, there'll be less people getting on each other's back, and there'll be less arguments with the workplace, for example, boosting morale and people come happier at work. Increasing flexibility. This allows we can do this by giving a greater scope to the weld shop from an offsite point of view. We can get them involved in pre-technical reviews, and if we've got an area on a roof, for example, and we know there's going to be 800 spools on there, we bring them in as soon as we know that and say, in the next 3 months you might have 800 spools to do, so they can plan that in. And if they need to increase if they need to get any resources in to be able to accommodate it, then they can do. Greater employee engagement. We can reduce waiting times. Probably us down at offsite waiting for spools up here by probably better information, less problems. Reduce waste by better utilisation of materials. We can increase throughput through our factory if we get spools quicker, and also increase throughput here if they have less problems and they can work faster, and then therefore increasing productivity. And that's the end of our PowerPoint. So now we'll take you up to the slide where I'm sure you've got plenty of questions.
Right. Thank you for that. And I've got probably too many things to think about. One of the biggest ones, it's not in any order this, but one of the biggest ones that could be the biggest worry was there was a slide about bullying. So putting everything to one side, I'm more concerned about that.
I think it's a perception of bullying rather than actual bullying, and I think what it is when you're at the coalface here and you're getting demands that aren't filtered by anybody. So nobody's saying these are your priorities, lads. Don't worry about that. You need to do that. They're all coming in bang, bang, bang from all sides, and it puts people under a lot of stress. And it's the feeling of being bullied into being put into a pressure situation.
I thought as well, was something we addressed about the culture. It was about bullying, and we.
It is. I think it is across both sides, Mark. I don't tend to agree with that for this facility at all. But I think what Matt's saying is it's that sometimes that perception or a lot of pressure putting on, and there's sometimes not the day to filter it. What should we be working on? What is his priorities? I'll tell you what. I'll take that off for you because you don't need to worry about that. I'll get so and so to sort that, or I'll sort it. And it's sometimes that I don't think it's actual the bullying part of it, as in name calling or whatever it is, or putting pressure on people undue. I don't think it's down to that.
We'll take it up later on.
Yeah, me and you can
Good
set it
man.
up, yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. Start on the flow process you've got over there.
Yeah.
How does that fit? I presume all the pink is the Bailey processes that we've got in for weld. Is that right?
Yes.
Are we looking at
It's
revamp?
actually-
Do we need to
it is
revamp
actually,
that
yeah.
process? Is that fit for purpose?
If the PIC process works,
Yeah.
then if we've got the information and we've solved the things on the blue post-its, yes,
Yeah.
it works.
I think he's trying to catch them things on the blue post-its as early as we can. So it's like Jay was saying, get weld shop involved, 30%, 6%,
Yeah.
9% tech reviews. I can highlight stuff up. I can say, they're going to be long leads, you need to order them now. Do you know, how are we going to manage that? Matt, we need some tooling, stuff like that. So it'll eradicate it further up that way rather than getting to here and just having a load of stuff dropped. And
I just don't know how long that's been going, Joe. So if that's been going 10 years, it could be out of date and not relevant to us anymore.
Yeah.
So do we need to look at that and say, do you know what?
Can we make any improvements?
Can we make improvements in that process flow, because we don't actually need to do all this?
Yeah.
Because we've got things on here about cutting process, manual marking.
But it's
But
like
what about a laser marker?
But it's like when you look at, if you look at checking joins, checking joins, checking materials,
Yeah.
that to me can come out and should be done up here.
With the
So you
whole,
can get rid of them straight away, because if it's why do we need to be checking materials if we know it's right here, if we've done it here
the whole
before
process,
it's even come to us?
the whole process that we've gone